So, hello. Welcome. My name is John Skippy Limcool. I am playing a new patch from Unify 1.7. And it wasn't possible before 1.7 because of a new MIDI effect that's been added. And it's this dude right here, TriggerBox. And TriggerBox is set to delay when it plays a short gated note. And I can set up multiple layers with multiple trigger boxes that are each set to do delays at different times. Some things are panned in different positions. And like right here's the last two notes. And if I wanted to, I could go, I don't want it to be a pizzicato. I want it to be like maybe a flutter escape. Let's bring this start up a little bit sooner like this, and shorten the release, take it down an octave. So every layer that's playing something could be a completely different plugin in your system, or a different sound inside of Unify. That's the joy of exploration. Is all the world is your oyster right here in Unify. So Unify 1.7 has 4 MIDI effects, 37 new patches, some nice enhancements to the interface to make working with it even easier and more enjoyable. The 4 MIDI effects that are included are heavyweight, really cool effects. There's TriggerBox, which is useful for all sorts of things beyond what I'm doing right here. It's actually like I've pulled out all of the complex capabilities of complex samplers and made it a MIDI effect. So you can, if you look at TriggerBox's set of presets that you can just choose, and it will set up all of these parameters for you. You can do such things as when you move the modulation wheel, it will play a note. And you can change what note it is, what the velocity is, what MIDI CC number it is. If you don't want it to be your modulation wheel, it can be any MIDI CC in your system. You can have as many of these on different layers as you want to play different things. It's crazy. It's really, really fun. You can delay when notes are played. That's like what I'm doing right here in this patch. Note offs. Not only note offs every time like most samplers, but we actually have a probability slider for note off samples. So if you don't like to have the note off piano noise, it's every time you like hands off the keys, now you can set it to 40% or something like that, and it doesn't do it all the time. It's really nice. It can be listening to the velocity of note on or note off for what the velocity will be for the playing of the samples. Then they're getting the sustain pedal stuff. This is like for piano, when you push down on the sustain pedal, it plays a whole different set of samples because it has this sustain pedal up, so it rings really nice. You can make it really easily, so you have one layer that doesn't do that and one layer that does. I'll show you an example in a minute. And then sound plays with note on and note off. So let me just show you real quick. Let's before we get into everything, look at all these libraries. My goodness. Wait till you see the total number that this library total equals. It's crazy. But I'm going to just show you really quick a really cool patch for Mega Magic Keys, which is coming out on Friday. And this has piano. And you can hear, let me turn off my microphone. You'll hear sustain pedal noise on my sustain pedal. That's note off. So, and it's on a probability, so it's not every time. So it just adds a little bit of that human. It's really nice piano. It's my mom's C3 Grand. Let's make it lo-fi by turning on the low-pass filter. Put a bass. And now we're into lo-fi territory, so we need a drum beat and maybe some cool effect. On the mod wheel, it's going to trigger, thanks to TriggerBox, a recording, not of a winter stream. This is of a fireplace and a drum groove, and I want the drum groove to be slower, so let's say like. So there's my fireplace. You know, off you go. So I'm using TriggerBox to trigger playing of notes that are then triggered to play a MIDI box drum groove and play a note. And if I want, I can go to here and I have all sorts of environmental sounds. So if I want a big thunderstorm, it's a thunderstorm. All sounds I recorded all the environmentals. I did include a couple from my friend Jason from Rocky Mountain Sound. So if you want a lapping river, sitting by a river in Canada. So TriggerBox is cool for all sorts of things. It basically makes it so UniFi can be a big complex sampler. Because different layers inside of UniFi are playing different sounds, doing different things at different times. It's really, really fun. So that is coming Friday, and that's using TriggerBox a lot, all over the place. 1.7, let's go back here. Let me show you the other 3 effects that are included with UniFi. These are insane. It's an organ. And this is something we've been working on. Shane's been working on this for a while. It's a free update. You can go to the GitHub that Shane has developed and download this to install into your computer. It doesn't sound like this because I'm using tools inside of UniFi. We've got amp simulators. We've got all sorts of things to create really cool B3 organs that sound. Right? And this is component based. We've kind of like just the sampler. TriggerBox pulls the sampler apart. This pulls the B3 apart because you've got the os, which gives you the 9 drawbars of an organ. And then you have the cabinet, which is not one, but 2 different Leslie simulations that really work well together. One's more kind of center and brighter. The other is warmer and really wide. And the 2 together, it's just great. Right? And then we get into the rocky stuff so we can. And hear the perk. That's because the third MIDI effect in this whole component is called MOrgan Perc. And it is a little plugin that plays just a short little period of, it's all about playing and triggering things in this update. So this gives you the ability to trigger a note that's up to 250 milliseconds. It will hold it down. Even if it's a huge sustaining sound, it will only trigger it for 250 milliseconds max. And then you can choose it to be polyphonic. So it plays. Here, we'll just solo this percussion sound so you can hear. I'm playing them all at once. If I say single, it only plays 1 note. And then if I set it to the Hammond Perc, it emulates basically what a Hammond percussion, the mechanism does. It actually kind of like bleeds into additional notes. And then it's mono after that. After I play after that, these notes don't have any sound. And you can choose the window of how it's going to bleed. So by setting up those parameters, Now, the cabinet is really cool because we are able to set it up. So here's your spin up and slow down for the Leslie. And we have control over it being done either by sustain pedal, by mod wheel, or both. And if you happen to be on a Korg synthesizer where it works on a, it's a joystick kind of a controller, right? And you move it, you can't, the way it works for these first three options is you have to keep your foot on the sustain pedal and it's on. When I take my foot off the sustain pedal, it slows down. If you set this to toggle, now when you push the sustain pedal, it turns it on. Push the sustain pedal again, it turns it off. Same with mod wheel, or if you set this to toggle on mod wheel, now you can just push this and it, one time it triggers it on, one time it triggers it off. So if you're on a Korg synthesizer, you would go here and change this and then just resave it to make your own little library of patches. Save them under a new direct. All you have to do is go save. And when you go to the new library, just down here at the bottom it says new library. Make a new library and save it there. And that way you can set it up so you can call up patches that are custom dialed in just the way you like it. Okay. So there's all these different organs. Jazzy comp. And as you can see, you've got drawbars. Right? And I did put on page 2 and 3 each of the separate 9 drawbars so that if you want, you could assign these knobs to CCs to control each of the actual drawbars, because there's I kind of did a trick on the front page. See how these are combined, 1 foot plus 2 foot, the 1 1/3 plus the 4 1/3. I actually combined these so that up to 3 drawbars are on one macro knob. That was just to make it so it would all fit on this front main page so you could see them and have access to them. But if you want, you could set up, these patches do have all 9 drawbars. You would right click and assign to a MIDI CC, have your hardware set up to that same MIDI CC, and that way you could set this up to control all 9 drawbars independently. I did that only to the single organs, the things that are like the dual manual. This is where there's a chord in left hand. If you're going to be jamming out like that. This is actually 2 separate patches, and they're Unify layers so that you can double click and open this up to change the right hand to be whatever you want to be. And same with the left hand, you would just go to the second Unify. You can see how it's a lighter green on the left, so you just double click, choose what organ patch. And you've got that set so you can choose which organ manuals and effects and stuff you want. Now, the reason we call this Morgan is because down here are Morgan patches, because basically Morgan is now an oscillator, it's a audio effect and a MIDI effect. But the oscillator in UniFi can be any plugin you own or any synthesizer that's inside of UniFi. So instead of an organ, what if we use a sawtooth? And if I bring up the filter, it's a sawtooth. I mean, nobody's done anything really cool with organ in a while, so we're trying something different. Let's pull it out. If you want the perc to be different sound, here's the perc element. So there's all of these different attacks in this one directory inside of the Unify Guru sampler. So you just go to the Del Norte attacks. These are all the attack samples from a library I made called Del Norte. You can go to any of these and a wood pop. And then once you call this up, you can choose whether it's pitched or not pitched. Change the chorus, so it's lots of opportunities to try new things here. I did a couple other examples. Right? Here's a unison where the mod wheel also opens the filter. Right? So all sorts of different ways of approaching what organ is. You can play with different elements for both the organ sound and for the percussion sound. It's really, really fun. Fun to play with. So this is those 4 plugins I've shown you now are included for free in this update to Unify. By the way, to update, you just download the updater, you run the updater, and then you need to drag over or install from the settings page right here where it says select Guru file. You would go there to select this Guru file, this update.guru. That has the patches, that has the settings, that you need to have that installed after you do the update. So make sure that you follow that step, okay? So that's the update. There's so much more. If you go to this page at this address of pluginguru.net, unify-change-log.html, here's the list of everything added. In the interface, we now have a really cool little ... up here that wasn't there before, right? What's that for? What it does is, as you can see this library, I now have a counter down here. I'll show you this ability here in a minute where you can choose and kind of like instruct Unify how it's going to load the next patch you select. I wanted it to be on the interface. This is all stuff that's available by right-clicking, but a lot of people don't remember that they can right-click on patches and stuff like that. So now it's available as a separate thing right here that stays, and it's really, really cool. So I'll show you that. But let's talk about this little ... up here first. It just so happens that if I actually set this to say all Unify libraries, let's go up here and say all libraries and close, you're looking at 20,615 patches in all of these different libraries. These are unified libraries, which means if you own Warlock or Uhi's Bazil or Zebra 2 or Hex Drum or Cherry Audio's DCO 106 or Applied Acoustic Systems Chromophone or Omnisphere's extension Nylon Sky, these have all been unified. So you can choose this, you can say guitar, it will load Omnisphere, you must own Omnisphere, and then it will load the patch. And right? And you can play it. So I can go, let me show you a really cool thing. So this ability of changing how it loads, let's say load embedded, and let's go up here to, let's go to Omniverse 1. That's the first library I've ever made in 2010 for Omnisphere. And we could go down here to maybe one of the guitars, or who knows, how about a pad, dark and pure. And just by clicking it, it loaded another layer with Unify and that patch. And I have my auxiliary buses set up so I can add some reverb from Unify over Omnisphere to and maybe I want a BPM patch with this. So let's go up here to the beginning and say BPM pad. Let's do strings pulse. That sounds interesting. It's letting me load patches into the existing patch. No other plugin created by anybody does this. And what it allows you to do is just go down the list of any of these 20,000 patches. I could go down here to the Zebra 2 library and say, I want a BPM synth, like, how about Future Memory? And I can even hold it down. Let's choose this. And I want a drum groove. So I'm gonna go up here to Cloud City, and I'm gonna change this instead of load embedded to loaded fixed pitch, because Cloud City has all these drum grooves that I set up so you can play across the keyboard and it transposes the groove. You don't want it to do that when you're trying to play a song and have a cool jam to play with, right? So let's go over here to down tempo and closer, and let's go down here and choose another drum groove. Let's go here to Perc. A little bit of reverb on this. So, without right-clicking, I was able to load 8 different layers to make this. So it's really, really fun to have this ability right here. A really cool power move is to remember that you can start over. Let's say we go back to, say, pads or something like that. We want to start with a nice pad. Don't click, because it's going to load it into the existing patch. Right-click now and just say load patch. And that way you're starting over. And you can leave it on fixed pitch embedded, because if it's a normal synth sound, it's going to load it. If the fixed pitch is only relating to MIDI box on drum grooves that transpose for pitch. So by leaving it here, I can now click on Mellow Jaws and then I want piano. So let's go up here to key. And maybe we want like maybe a Rhodes Rebel. Sure. Anyway, you get the idea of what you can do. So having these here makes it so you don't have to right click. You don't have to remember about right click. You can just choose here whether you want to just load patches, which means it will erase what was there. Or else if you want to go to load embedded, and let's go, say we want to load a piano over this. It can do it just based on how this is set. Now, under settings, you can turn this off right here. Show patch count, show patch, load menu options. Click that, they're gone. And now you have the full screen here for your patch list. So you can make that go a few ways if you want. Now, back to up here. So there's all of these libraries, right? We just went all over the place and played with all of them. By going here to load, I can say I want to load just unified libraries. And I'd made a preset where I had selected just the unified library. So when I close this, it now shows me only those libraries instead of the, train wreck of endless patch libraries. So now you have the ability to limit this view. And if you right click right here, it equals the same as hitting this load button right here. So you see how you have this menu here? If you right click right here, you get that same menu. So you can just say, I just want the factory library, and boom. Now all you see is the UniFi factory library in this pull down list. If I change by clicking here and say all libraries, boom, now I'm back to seeing all 20,000 patches, having access to all of them. Again, these are all presets that are available through the website. The unified ones are free as long as you own these plugins. The Plugin Guru ones are available with the libraries that you buy at my website. And I want to just quickly say that between now and I think about the 5th of January is going to be where I'll put the cutoff, 50% off everything at my site. So it's a great time to get new libraries. I always have an end of the year sale. So that's available to you. I think that's about, there's one more thing to show you. And then I'll wrap it up. I'm about to start after this week. I wanted to start sooner, but I had to get through these libraries, and this is 3 libraries I've done in like at the same time, so my head hurts. But if we go over here, I want to show you something cool. We have the ability to load patches from a file on your Finder, so it doesn't have to be inside of the UniFi folder. Check this out. This is for Diva. So if I right click and I bring it over UniFi and let up, it will load a patch. Just like that. Now, if I go to settings and I want to turn back on show patch loading options and the patch count's fine, I'm going to go over here. I'm in the UniFi standard library and I have a couple other patches to add. That first patch I showed at the very beginning, dominoes. So if we go BPM synth. Now I've set it to load embedded, so you can just click dominoes. And then I'm going to go find matrix. So I'm going to type right here matrix because I want to add, I'm still not load embedded, so I just have to click this. And now so this is using Diva from Uhi, which is a wonderful synth. Urs is a nice friend of mine, dear friend. So make sure you own his plugin before you try to play this patch from the Diva library. It won't work without Diva. But by having the plugin, you can get the unified library for Diva and do this. So life is good. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you for your support. We love all of our customers. You guys are wonderful to support us, and we love to do things like this. This is supposed to be just a simple little update, but it became much more than that. So enjoy. Thank you for your support. See you soon in the next video, okay?